Welcome to another performance clinic. Today it's mastering Azure monitoring with Dynatrace. And my guest today, the main speaker, is Patrick Thurner. Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Patrick Thurner. So I'm part of the product management team here based in Linz, Austria. So I'm driving a lot of the Microsoft related topics. So that includes also Azure, but I'm also taking care of .NET monitoring, all the web server agents, and yeah, that's I think a pretty summary of it.
Perfect. And it seems we have a very good hairdresser here.
Yes, right. Yeah. Extra shaved this morning to be prepared for this video.
Perfect. All right. So folks, as I said earlier, it's recorded. If you have any questions, put it into the question feature. If you have questions later on because you're watching this online, you can ask questions on answers.dynatrace.com. If you want to try Dynatrace yourself, you can also see the link here, either the short link, the bit.ly DT SaaS trial, or you just go to dynatrace.com and sign up for a SaaS trial. We also have managed trials, managed POCs. That means you can install Dynatrace also on premise. And a little shameless plug on my side, the Listen to Pure Performance, that's a podcast I run with one of our colleagues. So hopefully there's some good stuff there. Now, Patrick, I want to hand it over to you now. I will cut my video stream now. You keep yours open until we go into the demo mode.
Yeah.
Then we have more real estate, but please enlighten us about mastering Azure monitoring with Dynatrace.
So maybe the words mastering Azure monitoring is a little bit too bold at this stage because we don't have too much time here for the session. But anyhow, I'm giving you some sort of direction where to go and giving you a glimpse in what's the current state and so on and so forth. So before we dive into and doing some demos, I'll give you a brief introduction on what's the current state, how Dynatrace, how I don't want to do this, how Dynatrace currently fits into the whole Azure ecosystem. So it's not about only monitoring, it's really the whole ecosystem, how we bond together. So for sure, as Dynatrace, in a primary way, we're looking to integrate our OneAgent as good as possible into any vendor, cloud vendor, public cloud vendor, private clouds, whatever it is. So initially, we always think about the OneAgent. So that's which is naturally which you can do however you have done it before, manually, with whatever automation you have there. But as you can see here on the very top, we have a certain amount of integrations on all the compute workloads within Azure. So that gives you really the full stack monitoring on your applications as one of these parts within Microsoft Azure. On the other hand, there are a lot of PaaS services which we can run the OneAgent. So that's really still important from a monitoring point of view because OneAgent can give you the answers actually if something is failing and point you to the direction where is it failing, but still without the cloud infrastructure monitoring on PaaS services, we can give you can't give you any answers on why it is failing. So that's why the integration of Azure Monitor is key. And along with that it's the integration also with other services to making a full picture with single sign-on experience on Active Directory and also the integrations with Azure DevOps. So you're pretty much tied to that Azure DevOps story, unbreakable pipeline, which was pretty cool because that was picked up by Abel Bang from Microsoft and they ported your original version to VSTS. Now we're making progress more and more, so that's really cool, giving you the whole story from development down to the operations in Azure. Yeah, we see actually you can for sure run Dynatrace SaaS combined with Microsoft Azure Compute Load, but we also provide marketplace offerings to run your Dynatrace managed cluster and also ARM templates if you do the whole managed. So you have a really single-click experience on deploying even a cluster, but just providing your license keys, credentials, and some configuration options. On the other hand, what's often a little bit forgotten is our synthetic offering in terms of Azure. we have all Azure regions covered, also for synthetic. That recently also includes new regions like Dubai, so the Middle East regions which were just open, South Africa, but also Azure government regions have been opened to do synthetic monitoring. Combined with all our other locations, that gives you really worldwide synthetic availability monitoring into Azure.
Cool, and thanks for bringing up synthetic. In case people are interested in synthetic monitoring, I just recorded, I think, 3 sessions, 3 performance clinics with your colleagues on the synthetic product management side that we showed how to use synthetic monitoring. So that's also great to know. We have all these locations from within the different Azure regions.
Right, and really these special regions which have been just opened, and especially, as I mentioned, Middle East, that was a year-long fight, I think, for Microsoft to open regions there, not the easy ones. So I think that gives really good audience or visibility into this kind of region as well. So anyhow, you still, it's not only about public cloud. Usually our customers are running hybrid clouds, private clouds, so that totally fits into that as well. Whether you run on SaaS managed, you just have the single pane of glass with Dynatrace, just to mention the picture. And also to mention we are a marketplace, so if not just to deploy Dynatrace managed through marketplace, but you could even get your Dynatrace licensing through marketplace.
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool if you want to have everything on the enterprise agreement. So that's from the brief introduction, how we fit into there. And so let's get started. So before mastering, usually it's hard if you see all the different kinds of services and extensibility things in Azure, where you want to get started. So the cool thing here is really a couple of months back we introduced our integration with Azure Monitor. And that's what we see already rising from a starting point from our customers instead of starting with the OneAgent, because that gives you already an easy kickstart into your Azure environment, where we capture data from Azure Monitor APIs, ARM APIs, the Azure Source Manager APIs, so you get an early intro into service behavior, how many services you have running, VMs, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that integration actually adds cloud infrastructure monitoring purely, and we're extending that also over time. It gives you also, as I mentioned, this out-of-the-box dashboard, so an out-of-the-box experience, a very easy kickstart into monitoring Azure. And then you can also follow up on these kind of things to see, okay, where do I need to put my OneAgent on to get deep insights? What are my first-tier, second-tier applications, and so on and so forth.
First question that just comes in on this, the data that we're pulling in here from Azure, does this also feed into the Dynatrace AI? Meaning, would I get alerted on things? Can I specify custom thresholds and stuff like that?
So not right now. So that's something we're adding right now. So custom alerting, for example, is available with version 176, something like that. So in Q3, you can already do custom dashboarding with it. The AI will get more insights on this kind of data over time. So that's on the road, let's say so. Some of the things work already out of the box with the AI. Some of the things you just get pointed from an application point of view and you just need to drill back. But what we just recently added is really the integration of our past services we detect through the API and added to the topology, our Smartscape topology, so that the AI really can take leverage of all this data. So that makes really a key difference also to see things which you usually don't see because it's just more on a middleware level there. So you see load balancers, but I'll show that in a couple of minutes there. Perfect. So all in all, so to get the best monitoring experience in Azure, it's really the combination of OneAgent and this integration. And as a kickstart, it's usually the integration to turn on and explore more services to monitor that. So maybe that's a good jump start. How to set it up and yes. So can you?
By the way, I just cut your video stream so we have more space for the screen.
Perfect. Cool. So so in Dynatrace, if you get into the settings, most of settings here. If you scroll down to the cloud and virtualization, we have some nice Azure section. You can really connect your instance to Microsoft Azure. All you need to do there is to set up a so-called service principal. That's an automation credential. We have all the instruction how to set it up in our documentation. So you can either do it through the portal or with some simple Azure CLI scripts. To get this service principal, it's basically just needs read access to Azure Monitor data, and then you put in here this free data like the client ID, which is also called I think it's the application ID. We have the tenant ID, also called sometimes the account ID or directory ID, and the secret for sure verify things here. So you can also already distinguish between monitoring out-of-the-box everything. So we have out-of-the-box support for the most important services like VMs, SQLAzure, ServiceBus, managed, but you can also more granularly control based on tags what you want to monitor. So you can just select here a drop down and add some tags you want to filter the services you want to monitor.
So if I understand this correctly, on the Azure side through metadata,
right,
I can say I want to monitor this and this and this component, and automatically Dynatrace will only pull in data from these things that
exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives you more control on the Dynatrace side to control what you want to monitor, but you can also do it very granularly from a service principals permission side of things within Azure. So you can grant access to a whole subscriptions, multiple subscriptions, but also down to a resource group level or resource level even. But usually customers have more global kind of service principal set up across one or more subscriptions, and then you can really tear down the monitoring by these tags.
Another question just coming in. What particular version are you showing here from Dynatrace? I see.
So that's already my production account. It's I think 172, so that's already public again.
Perfect. So that's I think the question comes from a Dynatrace managed customer. So this is 172.
72, yeah.
Which means for managed it's going to be
in about a month, something like that, to be available.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'm not sure 172 went out just recently at least.
And another follow-up question on what you're showing here, is there any additional licensing that comes with setting up this integration?
That's a very good question. So not right now, but we're currently revisiting our cloud infrastructure model, making it easier from setting it up, discovering things, pulling in third-party data, metrics, and events and all this stuff. And with that in mind, we also will apply a new licensing model where we right now have custom metric licensing, but the new cloud infrastructure monitoring is very similar than in future, like the DM licensing. But yeah, that's coming soon. And with that in mind, also this more granular control on what you want to monitor is applicable and required to have better control on the license consumption.
Cool. But all we see here, that's basically built in. This comes with the current, with 172, with build 172, sprint 172, just set it up and that's it. Cool.
That's it. So what we also recently added here, and you can control is the automatic import of resource tags. So very similar to what we did do for other integrations like AWS, where we grab resource tags and tie it back into your Azure resources. Starting initially with VM-based resources, and we're extending that to more high-level resources like app services where we need to propagate all these tags to services we detect and so on and so forth. So that's all you need to do. You can make it really simple, turn on monitoring for everything, or get down to the roots and control it. And just even more to come. So with this new cloud infrastructure monitoring, we're working on a new way to discover and explore your services and also apply monitoring to these kind of services, so that you really just turn on the integration and look on an application level, tag level, or whatever management zone level, to turn on monitoring for these kind of things. So basically, once you have set this up, you get a data field within our out-of-the-box dashboard. So you get a list of subscriptions we've investigated, and with that, on a subscription level, right now you have some already overview of your services like SQL database, storages, Redis, and some others. So also with 172, new services have been added. So beside those services we see here on the dashboard, also Event Hub metrics, IoT Hub metrics, as well as some CosmosDB metrics have been added. Since we know we will change this dashboard already to another version, these are not displayed here at all. You can already use it on the custom dashboarding. So as you can see here, this dashboard is really just an out-of-the-box experience, giving you some information, what's there, what's wrong, which kind of scale sets you're running, how many VMs have been deployed, sort of resource usage within a scale set, something like that. But more important are things like, let's say, I think with the API management setup, we get them really resource metrics. So this was our initial approach. As I mentioned, this will change. So the new dashboard will, let's say, separate the metric monitoring and shift it over to custom dashboarding, and we will focus just on a really overview and resource usage view based on topology data, giving customers then the functionality to explore these things and so on and so forth. The real cool thing which we just added is with these kinds of metrics, you now can also create your custom dashboards to your needs. So just create a custom chart. Then we have here added the cloud services, and simply search for your metrics, Azure, IoT Hub, for example. So that's an IoT. And we see we have a lot of IoT Hub metrics, for example. So that's a very popular service because more and more are going into this IoT space. So that has been recently made available. Now you can see you can create your charts with that as you're used within the custom dashboarding and charting capabilities in Dynatrace. Just pick one. I haven't deployed one, so yeah, I don't have anything to show. Let's maybe remove something.
Yeah, maybe add a metric that actually has some value. That would be cool.
Right.
And it's also nice while you're adding this metric, just to remind people. I think this also came in with release 172, the new metric API, or the new metrics engine, as we call it internally, with also the new metric picker. So metrics are now organized in a tree structure. That's also why we have, we were speaking on cloud, cloud platforms, and then you can also search nicely. And yeah, so here we go.
So yeah, that's for example on some SQL server metrics. We see the certain SQL services actually also picked that metric. No deadlocks here on this database, which is great. So anyhow, you can use this metrics, create your own cool dashboards, and go whatever you want. So what we will do as well is coming up with a set of presets of dashboards. We put on GitHub, so specific to certain Azure services, let's say storage dashboard, something like that, which you then can super simply import through the custom dashboarding API and adjust to your needs.
Yeah, which is also cool because the dashboard API was also recently introduced, where you can build dashboards, export them, version control them in Git, or we can use it for providing templates, and then you can just import dashboards to your environment.
Exactly, and that's what we're going on this route, so making it really flexible enough and not just providing out of the box dashboards. With this custom dashboarding features, a lot of granularity to the metrics have been also enabled. On the dashboard itself, we often just show aggregated metrics, like in terms of app services. We can go here back to Azure and looking at some app services. The metrics here we show are just aggregated metrics. If you know the Azure Monitor API metrics, those are usually provided based on the instances. But due to an out-of-the-box experience, it's hard to get this experience here on the dashboard. We just aggregated it, and with the custom dashboard, you can really get dashboards based on instances per app service and so on and so forth. Perfect. So that's the basic summary. I already mentioned the automatic tag import with that. That's also super cool. We probably can look at hosts, how this looks like. So we should see here something. So the tags we imported automatically from the API are then pre-tagged with Azure to identify, and then you can do all the tag magic within Dynatrace. So that's pretty cool, especially also if you use ServiceNow integrations and so on and so forth.
Can you show us one of these hosts, maybe?
Sure. I'll pick one of these. Apply. So that's my ServiceFabric cluster, having 3 nodes. And we see here that's a tag I put on there on my node. And for example, that's the resource type ServiceFabric. That's even a tag which was applied from ServiceFabric during deployment of the cluster. So everything is automatically tagged.
Perfect. And this machine obviously has the Dynatrace OneAgent installed because we get full stack monitoring here.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
So as I mentioned also with this integration, I'm maybe switching over to another environment to show you how it looks like if you how Smartscape works with these PaaS services, which is really cool. So where we have Smartscape, here we have Smartscape, and as you can see here, some nice service screens. I'm looking for API. Oops. Typing thing. Well, we have it. Is it that one? Oops. Don't want to click on that.
So for people that have never seen this is Smartscape. So this is our automated dependency view, live dependency map from hosts, or actually from the underlies cloud or virtualized infrastructure. And I always call it the horizontal and vertical dependency map, so we know what runs on what, but also what calls what with our end-to-end tracing capabilities. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right. So make it a little bit bigger here. What we see here is already the Redis cache, which we have support in here, showing that as the process is running over here. What we see here, for example, is a load balancer. We have really the load balancer within your service detection, which wouldn't be seen otherwise because it's really transparent to an application, how the traffic is routed, so a VM doesn't have really insight how this looks like. And
so does this really mean if I look at this I see which Java services, which Tomcats are actually making calls to which other Tomcats through which load balancer.
Exactly, exactly. So that's really helpful here to get insights when something breaks. And that also helps nowadays to correlate all these things. So if there's an issue on the load balancer, he's aware of these kind of things and can alert on that. Yeah, so we have added all these kind of PaaS services, API management, API gateway is there, app gateways, all these kind of things are now visible, yeah, in here. I think that's just briefly showing how it looks like. Also storage accounts would have been shown here, but are usually less connected because on storage accounts we use the pure bus data to connect these devices or detect the dependencies in there. So that's pretty much it from how to get started and what's the benefits of Azure Monitor integration. Maybe we get back to the slides and show how things work out with OneAgent. So OneAgent is pretty much supported on all the different kinds of compute services, whether it's VMs or even PaaS services like Azure App Services, Functions. We have Azure Functions supporting there, really with deep monitoring support for .NET. We have all the different kinds of container services like container instances, ServiceFabric Mesh, where you can do this app-only integration like we have as well as for Kubernetes or Cloud Foundry. So instead of just providing the typical ways to integrate OneAgent with Chef, Puppet, Ansible, manually, whatever you want to use, we provide extensions, native Azure extensions for VMs. These are called VM extensions, and for app service it's called site extension, which gives you an easy and native experience to run the OneAgent on this kind of services. For the typical other cloud platforms like Kubernetes, OpenShift, Cloud Foundry, we also have, you can do also the same with the extension approach, but usually we recommend to rely on build pack integrations, operator style, Kubernetes style of installations for OneAgent, running OneAgent with some kube CTL controls. And we have a lot of blueprints in terms of services which don't have really an extension, an Azure extension, but those provide usually some sort of startup scripts where we have then blueprints how to run the OneAgent on these kind of things. So an example is, for example, the old PaaS service or PaaS 1.0 style, also called cloud service. It's a classic compute. These are startup scripts where we provide some scripts how to run the OneAgent. Also HD Insight, popular service, provides startup scripts. And yeah, I can just quickly jump in and show where to find those kind of things in the Azure portal. And here we go. So if we go, for example, on a virtual machine, in the portal itself, and that's just for demonstration because it's more funny than to show some CLI commands. Here we go, where we have it. There is some extensions. Can I find it?
Up there, I can see it.
Here we go. So here is this extension button. You just simply say add, and then you can pick and choose from this kind of extensions. Search for Dynatrace, create it, apply your credentials like environment ID, API token, and if you're running managed a server URL. So there's also some nice announcement here on the VM extensions. So far you were not able to control log analytics and host groups. So that's even not available in the portal, but the latest extension allows you to enable log analytics through a property and also define host groups. So that's currently only available through Azure CLI installation of extensions or PowerShell, as well as ARM templates. So just look up our documentation for more details how to enable it. It's just an additional property.
Could you though quickly show here how people would get to the environment ID and the API token in the Dynatrace UI?
Sure. Let's get back over here. No, that's the wrong one. So here we have Dynatrace. Get into my environment. So it's within deploy Dynatrace. You go down to set up path integrations. So it's even if you're running a full stack, you get all the information over here. First of all, the environment ID can be seen here. You just copy paste the environment ID, and you can create new path tokens or use an existing one, show it, copy paste it, and that's it.
Perfect. And that will automatically tell our extension where to send the data to. In this case, it would be for live tenants. So that means for Dynatrace SaaS, and if you run managed, it will give that URL as you showed earlier.
Right. Yeah. So that's how it looks like from an extension point of view, and for the other ones, just look about documentation, all the resources we have, how to integrate there. It's really even easier with that in mind. So all these extensions natively tie into DevOps and all this stuff. You have the Azure CLI you can use to run all these queries. So that's super easy. And since I mentioned also an extension for Azure Functions is available, so I give you also a glimpse because that's rather cool and pretty new. So Azure Functions are the serverless offering within Azure, and how such a thing looks like if it's enabled. So let's go to transactions and services. So that's a more complex service. I have my service set up, which is a timer triggered function. So this is a function which just schedules work every 5 minutes. It basically just puts a message on ServiceBus queue, which is then picked up by another function triggered from ServiceBus, and takes the message and just simply puts it into Azure CosmosDB. And here we can really see this is my timer triggered function, seeing the transaction flowing from ServiceBus picked up by the queue listener in the receiving function, and further processing the one into the CosmosDB. As you can see here, it's just a log message. You see this little node, it's the Mongo API I use for CosmosDB, so we don't have any specialized CosmosDB detection. I just use the MongoDB API to access the CosmosDB, but you have the full insights here as well. You could even leverage Mongo plugins to access CosmosDB, and yeah, that's some nice, really complex example using a circuit breaker like a queue across functions with deep insights.
So what this shows me now is, if I just relay what I understand, full automatic end-to-end tracing through Azure Functions, through queues, all the way back into the database. And now what you show us is actually the pure path of our trace technology.
Yeah. So that's really the basic technology. It's easier to demonstrate on technology level that you even get the code level insights into an Azure Functions and not just high-level transactional data. It gets really down into the weeds, showing you what was used here, HTTP client, and further processing all these things.
And all of this without any code change. It's just turning on the extensions, and that's it.
Zero code changes, just turning on the extension and get all the visibility all the time out of the box. You can get all the information with method hotspots, response time analysis, and so on and so forth.
Very cool.
So it's a really nice example and advanced feature on app services. Yeah, basically I'm through with my primary demo. Let me check here. That's with my demo to get started. So I think the next direction is really pointing you into the documentation. We have really the broadest support for Azure services. Something I wanted to mention is what's next, for example, with our Azure efforts. So since we have right now just a certain amount of support for services with the Azure Monitor integration, we're working on a generic service approach, which gives you also insights into other services. You can pick and choose services and get insights into that. The alert integration is coming, so you can set webhooks from Azure Alerting into Dynatrace, where we can consume those kinds of alerts as events in Dynatrace based on their severity. It also raises, for example, problems and gives you also a more broader picture in terms of some things you can consume only through metrics like throttling events, for example. So it really gives a full picture into your cloud infrastructure. I think that's pretty much it from the Azure Monitor thing. And also on the tracing side, a lot of questions usually arrive. How do we work together with App Insights? So usually it's just complementary. So App Insights is really just additional data provider for us, and we're trying to add more support for really trace data in future. As most of the people already might have seen, Microsoft announced all the stuff they were initially doing on open sensors. Now open sensors and open tracing, the open observability standards have been merged. So App Insights is moving more and more over to open telemetry. So we are expanding our support for open telemetry, and we have already nice demos out there. For example, if you even trace across functions which are not instrumented by an agent, so that gives you even, let's say, broken end-to-end traces, the capability to get this end-to-end visibility with these efforts in open telemetry. So a lot of things can be already looked into EAP. I would say let's feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in that. Yeah.
I got a couple of things here. Questions on, so we talked about 172 as the build that you're showing, which is available on Dynatrace SaaS.
Yeah.
You said, do you have something in mind when this is going to be available for managed? I would assume with the next sprint, like in 2 weeks probably?
Yeah, should be. Yeah, something like that.
So Bruce, this should be available if you run on managed with the next upgrade of managed. The other thing was a comment from Chad. Managed environments will now show the complete URL that in the URL in the browser, so it might be better than just copy and pasting a complete URL from the browser into the integration. So I think that was an interesting thought. So if you're on a managed environment, the URL contains your environment ID. So maybe there would be a nice extension option to say, here's just my URL.
And just adopt it to the needs. Absolutely. Usually, I would say it's a good case here to make it easier to add this URL. But if the majority running managed or something, especially in case of Azure, you have always active gates involved to route traffic. So then you have also an own endpoint on the active gate.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Another question. Can you go back to your Dynatrace UI, the bigger one that you had with a little more data in? I think it's this one here. Yeah. So I think you were. I think it's I meant the other environment exactly. So there was a question when you showed the hosts earlier. One of the hosts actually had a problem, and I think in your environment, Dynatrace currently has 3 problems detected. Any chance you can show how such a problem looks like when Dynatrace detects an issue?
Sure. So I'm not sure if this is a host problem within Azure, but it should be. So actually this Redis entities will currently show up as host entities, but that looks like, for example, if this Redis service fails, we show it as red, and also highlight it in this list of services that something failed. So we can also look back on the problem screen. Example. how this service look like. I think it's the reddish cache. So we detected already
that's cool.
Some metric anomalies on these services.
So that means actually this is where Dynatrace really looks at all the metrics that we're pulling in and then automatically alerts you in case something is wrong with your Azure services that your apps are consuming.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
And yeah, so that's some nice experience.
And another question that comes in, and I think there might be some listeners on the webinar that haven't seen Dynatrace in its full extent. When you turn on an extension for your apps, what type of visibility do you get into those services? So maybe you can show, I don't know, do you have any ASP.NET applications running and services?
So it's really the full Dynatrace capabilities, so there's no limitation in there. So on app services itself, it's not a full stack integration, so we call it app-only integration, where we integrate on the application processes we are aware of, and just taking maybe some, I think that's some web application running on an API app. We have detected already these app services. It's also called DT Web App 1. So you get all the properties even reported on the host level, let's say. So you have all the service insights which you're not familiar with, but maybe let's get down.
Yeah, maybe actually, Dynatrace here highlights hotspots. So for instance, if you're on the top right,
that's already good. We have high consumption here. That's a good example. Let's see how Dynatrace gets you helped. That we have some nice insights here on the hotspots. You can do your response time hotspot analysis, see where something has been burned. We see a lot of usage in the database interaction, and okay, there's something which might be looked into from a database point of view.
So basically what this tells me now, so this is actually, I believe, the cool thing for those people that have not experienced Dynatrace yet. The only thing you need to do is to enable the site extension.
Right.
You automatically get code level visibility into every single transaction end to end, and on top of that, while we give you the code level details, if you want to, we also automatically analyze your hotspots, like what we do here. Dynatrace highlighted to us which methods are taking long, which SQL statements are taking long, and this is without any code change. The only thing you need to do is turn on that extension that will enable the Dynatrace OneAgent. Right?
Exactly. Gives you really promising user action down to the code level database, whatever you're using, and now with the Azure Monitor integration, also inside what's going on your cloud infrastructure. Because before it was really just, okay, we know there's my database going down for some reason. Maybe it was just provision too small. We just did not know, and you reached the quota limit. And now with this information, now we can see, okay, I need to scale up my database. All is fine.
Perfect. There's a question on database. What level of visibility do we get on the database? They just saw some SQL statements.
So yeah, it's really down to the database level from a transactional point of view, but with the integration you get also infrastructure level informations. Let's see here, we have CPU metrics, physical information resource things. The typical database infrastructure insights. The DTU consumption is really the transactional consumption to see how many of my provisioned transactions have I consumed, giving you a better insight how do I need to provision.
And these are metrics. I think if you scroll down a little further, we actually see the individual database instances, right?
So right, it's really down to the database instance level.
And that means because we have the end-to-end tracing, we know which application is accessing which database. And in case database access gets slow, the Dynatrace AI would also look into all these metrics and could, for instance, say the root cause is something either with the app, because the app changed the behavior to the database, or it's actually something, let's say, quote-unquote, physical with the database. The database itself has some issues. And in this case, it could be a database service. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Next question, I think you mentioned it earlier in the slides, around Kubernetes. The question is, do you support Kubernetes and AKS in particular?
For sure. So actually we don't have any dedicated AKS support because our integration we have for Kubernetes just works on AKS. And we see also a majority of our customer base and applying for or adopting AKS. So you can run either the extensions, but usually we prefer or suggest to use the operator style and to integrate the OneAgent there. Just run your kubectl commands and roll out the operator there.
Perfect. Maybe do me a favor if you click on deploy Dynatrace, because this is a great starting point to start deploying Dynatrace, obviously, right? I think if you click on start installation, the green button there, yeah, there are options to say set up a pass monitoring, right? And this is where you have the links to how do you monitor Kubernetes, for instance, right? And that then gets you to the instructions on how to deploy the Dynatrace OneAgent through the operator, as you just mentioned. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's different kinds of integrations, whether it's on the full stack. Just go for it. It's a whole topic on its own.
Yeah. Perfect. The next question that just came in, can you show performance monitoring on an Azure hosted app that is async?
Let's see, so I'm not sure about the applications I've in there. I don't think I've async applications.
Well, I think the stuff you showed earlier with your function that's actually putting a message into a queue.
Right, that was an async.
That's one option.
Let's get back down. Which was it? No, it was that one.
So Joe, while Patrick is trying to find this, our PurePath technology is automatically tracing incoming transactions end-to-end, whether it's through queues, as you've seen, whether it is through, let's say, thread pools when you are starting asynchronous method execution. So we automatically follow these transactions as PurePaths, as we call our technology, end-to-end. And that means also our PurePaths are real traces that follow the path as it branches out. And
yeah, we can look into here actually. So async just worked out of the box, as I mentioned. So down on the code level, we can see here that, yeah, right. It was an async call into the HTTP client from that function.
So that means we are actually then showing you for every transaction that we traced, where was the time spent. We also give analysis on I/O time, on CPU, on sync, on waits. So this is all automatically there, as you can see. Yeah.
So we can see here as well. Let's get back at HTML. I'm trying to get back to my service flow. We see also here that these kinds of things have been called asyncly. It was not my preferred one, but I think it's obvious. You might jump into another one. Yeah, anything else you might be interested?
Let's see, right now, what would be great if you could quickly go back to the slides, just as a reminder, maybe there's another question coming in, because I want to give people the option. So, folks, thanks for being here, obviously, right? And again, we're not closing yet, so you can still ask questions, but in case you want to learn more about Dynatrace, here are a lot of resources. Make sure you check out our Perform events. We have our performance clinics like these ones and other material online on the webinar section on Dynatrace University. There's also a great set of coffee breaks and power demos from our colleague Daniel Carr, and the podcast that we're running here as well. And maybe if you do one more slide, this is really something that is I think, a great series of events that we have performed. So in early February, we have our global event in Vegas, but then we also have regional events in Europe and in Asia Pac coming up. So make sure you go to perform.dynatrace.com. These events are coming up starting in August in APAC and then continuing through the rest of the year in the different regions. So that would be great. Patrick, I have another question. What's the best way from a documentation perspective to get started? Maybe some blog posts that you can recommend?
So I recommend our Azure Hub page. Let's get back to the documentation, which is a single entry point within technology support cloud platforms.
Mm-hmm. I think next time we need to give you a real mouse and not you're struggling with your...
Right. I think now my browser is not like me. So as you can see here on the cloud platforms, with this entry point for Azure, which gives you a glimpse what we support, how we support it. It explains the Azure Monitor integration, gives you some kickstart into different kinds of services, so how to set up the Azure Monitor integration and just follow down the path for whatever is important for you. Mm-hmm. So it's really a single entry point to get started. As you can see here, it's explained for ServiceFabric and so on and so forth.
It's perfect. Yeah. Do you have a question just comes in, can you show what the OneAgent delivers if you install it on a virtual machine?
So it gives you full insights from infrastructure level, log analytics. Let's get back here on a host. Actually, so we can see here all the different kinds of properties we detect, even instance types we can see, which kind of, how your resources are utilized, CPU, memory, disk usage. Yeah, all the different kinds of infrastructure informations. For sure, all the processes we detected and got instrumented and handled down to these kind of things.
So that means we automatically, once installed, see all the system metrics, we see every process, we instrument the process on the code level perspective, we see the log files, I saw some events as well, so that we see if there's deployment or configuration change events, process crash events, probably restart events, exactly. Errors and crashes too. Chad is just reminding me, Chad, one of our customers, they've been using Dynatrace also on their Windows workstations, actually, and OneAgent, and we wrote a nice blog about it, on how they were detecting process crashes. End user tracking. Chad, thank you for reminding me of all the cool things we're doing, right? It's also end user monitoring, so that's all there. So that's pretty cool. So that obviously now also we can easily see the add-on capabilities that the OneAgent brings to classical just metrics-based monitoring.
Right.
Through the API. So full stack visibility. Do me another favor here. Can you click on the ... up there and just open up the Smartscape? I think that's always nice to actually see that for this particular host.
You see here, really, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, you need a mouse,
yeah.
a real mouse. So there we go. So that means Dynatrace automatically gives you full stack visibility, the processes, and then the code level visibility in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, we don't have any applications linked to it, but yeah, would give you the full stack.
Yeah. Also, process-to-process connections. We can actually tell you what TCP/IP connections are open and so on and so forth. Really cool. Hey, Patrick, thank you so much. Folks out there, if there's any more questions, you have Patrick's name, so that means they can follow up with you either through email or through LinkedIn. You have your LinkedIn profile. But then also be reminded, answers.dynatrace.com is the portal where people can ask questions. The recording will be up shortly, thanks to Denise. And if you have any questions or if you have any topics, if you want to have a session particular on a certain topic, then please let me know. then we can organize it.
Right. And just one last teaser from my end. I'm next week on Microsoft Inspire, so there's some great news coming up. So I cannot tell you anything about it. Just watch out what's there. I'm there, so reach out to me if you're there as well. We can have a great conversation.
Perfect, cool. So Microsoft Inspire next week in Vegas.
Yes.
It's going to be really hot.
Super hot.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.